Hi. This poem is called Wolves at the Door. It was written for this week's Poems About on Blue Sky. Prompt, Wolves at the Door. Wolves at the door. The day he passes, my father wakes up with no IVs, and his eyes are like, say what? My sister, the master euphemist, goes, oh, you don't need that medicine anymore. Feeble but sharp, he turns a pleading eye to me to whom fiction is anathema. And I say, Dad, you really need to make peace with your maker. Shocked into reality, as if from a spiritual defibrillation, he grimaces, grips the bedrail like a raptor's talon on a power line, and screeches, I don't want to die. Just what is the value in a life that we refuse to relinquish, but are so often wishing away? My mom's still alive, but you'd never know it by how much I don't see her. It's all sin and guilt and years of absence that make us fonder. Today, in lieu of a planned visit, I phone and we talk for a while, and it ain't half bad. In a surprising and rare moment of parity, she confides to me that she finds old age particularly unsatisfying. So I skip the common platitudes and say, Mom, I'm sure you do. I'll probably feel the same way when the wolves are barking at my door. Then we agree to part amicably before politics or God destroys this tender rapprochement. So, yeah. These are two true events. One from, 13 years ago or so, and one from last week. But, they're condensed a little bit, but my father did wake up shortly before he was going to die, and he looked at his arms and was like, where's my IVs? He didn't say it, but so he looks over to me, and I'm like, this is it. And then he did. He leaned over and he grabbed a rail, and he's like, I'm gonna die. I don't want to die. And it was sad. And I wondered, what was he clinging to? For 10 years, all he complained about was that he was so miserable after his stroke. And, life was meaningless. And yet he was clinging to a life that he hated, And then, my mother, it's just, there's love, but there's distance and there's guilt and, everything. And it's always better when I'm, not there. So I really was going to visit her last week, but then, there's a flu was in my house and just didn't go. So I called her. I said, I just mailed you something. I was going to deliver it. Odd as that sounds. And we had a decent talk. And then, but I always was looked at like the baby in the family and never taken that seriously. So it was really odd for her to talk to me like an adult. And she's like, I just don't like getting old. It's just no fun. And it's not, And I'm like, I'm sure it feels that way. There's nothing, and then but she knew all the platitudes. She's like, oh, well, at least you can do this. You're better off than some people. And she said it themselves. I'm like, and then regardless, it's how you feel, And, so these are just two moments where, I had this communication with my parents, and it, wasn't always the case. So, it's funny. 2 weeks in a row, I binged a song while I was writing a poem for his prompts. And last week I mentioned I was binging Johnny Marr. And this time I was binging Steely Dan's Any Major Dude. Because when I saw this Wolves at the Door, the first thing that came to my head was Donald Fagen singing, when the demon is at your door, in the morning it won't be there no more, you know, and that's what came to my head, and then I was just thinking about these two scenes or vignettes. There you go, wolves at the door.